Welcome back to Hardball. President Trump tweeted early this morning about Sunday's French election. That's this Sunday, after yesterday's attack in Paris, which ISIS claimed credit for. President Trump had this to say. Another terrorist attack in Paris. The people of France will not take much more of this. Will have a big effect on presidential election. Well, he elaborated during an interview with the Associated Press, saying the attack will help the far-right anti-immigrant candidate Marine Le Pen. According to the Associated Press, the president says he wasn't endorsing Le Pen, but he said she's the strongest on borders and she's the strongest on what's been going on in France. Whoever is the toughest on radical Islamic terrorism, whoever is the toughest at the borders will do well in the election. That's Trump talking. So why is the president inserting himself into France's presidential campaign? Jonathan Capehart is an opinion writer for the Washington Post, and Jean-Bernard Cadier is a correspondent for French news channel BFM TV. Jean-Bernard, I want you first because you are French.
Thank you.
Is this a parallel election to our own from last year? Is this a battle between the far-right candidate Marine Le Pen, who opposes a lot of this immigration over there, basically blames it on the Muslim community, the terrorism, and against a more moderate candidate against her?
It certainly could be for the second round, for the runoff 2 weeks from now, depending on what happens on Sunday. It's the same wave that pushed President Trump here, that pushed the Brexit in Britain, that is pushing Marine Le Pen. That's for Anti-immigrant, anti-globalization, nationalism. That's for sure.
And the attack, is it strong enough to win? Trump won. At least he won in our electoral college.
It could be strong enough to win, especially because they had an attack. We had an attack 2 days before the first round. This definitely could help Marine Le Pen being elected. Why? Because it could push her, because she's the strongest on border, she's the most anti-Muslim. It could help François Fillon. And François Fillon is the conservative guy. He's not that bad. He's like Sarkozy. But they could be together for the second round. And in this case, according to all the polls, he is the weakest against Marine Le Pen. So this attack could, in 2 weeks from now, help her.
So right against far right wins.
Far right could win all right, or according to the polls before the attack, center, the surprise, this young guy, Emmanuel Macron, who is totally untested in terms of attacks, and he could be the victim of those attacks.
What do you think of this? What do you think about Trump getting involved? I think, I'm going to say at the end of the show, I've always respected the French, because when the British are with you, you say ho-hum, they're always with us. But when the French are with us, then you know you're right. It's just true. It's just true, because in the first Gulf War, they were with us all the way. They were with us when we had missiles on Cuba. De Gaulle was with us. He said, of course I'm with you. It always seems to be a check that are not easy to deal with all the time. But when they agree with you, you're right. That's my thinking. I've got a French guy here. Go ahead.
Who's agreeing with you. Look, I think it's always dicey when an American president inserts himself into another country's election, another country's referendum, as we saw with President Obama when he inserted himself into the Brexit conversation just before the vote. Well, no, it didn't help. But also, he was criticized for that, although he was criticized for everything that he did on the international stage. But with President Trump, with his tweets, like, he can do the wink and nod if he wants to about, well, I didn't endorse Marine Le Pen. But he said, as you read, she's the strongest on borders, she's the strongest on immigration, and
he endorsed her.
Yeah,
anyway, Donald Trump's not the only American president along the lines with Jonathan to comment on the upcoming French election, because former President Obama talked on the phone to centrist candidate Emmanuel Macron yesterday. The president's spokesman said the call wasn't an endorsement. Quote, President Obama appreciated the opportunity to hear from Macron about his campaign and the important upcoming presidential election in France, a country that President Obama remains deeply committed to as a close ally of the United States and as a leader on behalf of liberal values in Europe and around the world. So we know what that means. Barack Obama, by our politics, is somewhat center-left. He's not hard left by any means. He's center-left, and he's endorsing a candidate who you say is centrist.
And Obama still, he's extremely popular in France, probably over 120 his approval rating, his popularity. He's still very popular. This could have a big impact on all of these undecided people who didn't know exactly where to go. And there are a lot of undecided. That's why we're so uncertain about this election.
You've had some great presidents. De Gaulle.
Yeah,
De Gaulle was, and Mitterrand, I think. Mitterrand was great from our point of view. He was very much with us in the Cold War. Thank you. Socialists don't like communists. We should teach people that every night. They don't like communists. Anyway, Jonathan Capehart, Jean-Bernard Cadier, and up.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.